Mtaa football and just a little bit highlights and discussion into what has been happening with the top teams. I'm looking at Arsenal. Of course, I'm an Arsenal fan. And I saw the win against Newcastle. By the way, that was such an impressive win. That was such a good win for Arsenal. And for me, that is what proves that Arsenal is actually going to win something big this year. I strongly believe that this is our year. We've been building up our experience. We've been building up our cachet slowly as we edge towards winning a major title. We've come close the past couple of years, and through that we've learned through the experiences, albeit the painful experiences of coming close to, clinching the Premier League and coming close to the Champions League. That one against PSG really hurt me a lot because we could have gone to the finals. But when I look at the game against Newcastle, the way we won, and that comeback, being able to come back, a lot of times, if you remember in the past, that was, I think, one of the biggest issues with Arsenal. In that, with Arsenal, in a difficult kind of situation, in a situation whereby now you have to try and win ugly. You have to try and dig deep, against a team that, has the capability to actually bully a lot of teams. Newcastle is not a small team by any stretch of the imagination. Newcastle is a team that has the mentality of also being able to bully and being able to fight it out with the top teams. Those are the kinds of tests we would fail. I remember against Aston Villa, cost us, was it last season? That home game that we lost and Ollie Watkins scored. So being able to come in, Walter made scoring that goal. I don't know why Gabriel decided to throw himself to the ground, but he should not have done that. But either way, what a way to be able to come back. And for Gabriel, am I so impressed with his improvement? I mean, I feel like Gabriel has really, really improved. Early on, I felt he wasn't getting a lot of respect and or he wasn't really being given the appreciation that he should have been given. In some cases, rightfully so, because he used to make some mistakes, some mental errors, his judgment on the field wasn't sharp. But I remember I had Rio Ferdinand saying that, he challenged him to, take that next step as a centre-back. And, there was a time when, I think, was it Kivio or who came as a centre-back? And people were saying that's it for Gabriel, because people could see the talent that William Saliba had. And he's been gaining a lot of the appreciation, being able to go back to Marseille on loan or Saint-Etienne, wherever he was. I think it did him a massive, massive favor, because now he was able to come back. He was able to get that fast team experience and gaming experience and come back and improve himself and actually come back ready to be able to cement his place as a starter. But for Gabriel, it was a much more of a trickier path to gaining the appreciation he has, nowadays he's come to deserve. Not only is he a high-scoring centre-back, reminds me of the John Terrys of the world, people who could actually just get in there and set pieces and, would put the fear of God in you, because this guy, I don't know how the hell he's able to locate the football, in set pieces. If you play football, you know how being able to time a set piece when someone hits a corner of free kick and being able to get your head on it and time it perfectly and, and actually direct the ball in a manner whereby you're constantly creating high value chances through aerial threats. That's not an easy thing to do. To be able to do that and to master that craft, that shows how much that guy has worked on his game. So I was so happy for him, especially with, I think he should have done better with the goal that we were scored against with Volta made, but he came back and gave them the final answer. You saw him do this like, hey, chill. I got the chill. Come on now. Chill. Listen. This is Arsenal we're talking about. This is Gabriel we're talking about. So I was so happy for him to be able to score the winning goal. And for Arsenal, it's an indication of how far we've come. And we are showing that, and what Arteta is showing is that diversity in his philosophy, diversity in his approach to games, diversity in how he plays out his tactics. Of course, when you watch Arsenal, we start off with like 4 at the back, 4-2-3-1. That's how we are now mostly lining up. Before, you'd see the way we line up and you'd see the way we approach games. Especially that was, I think, the main complaint with a lot of people. But also I feel like nowadays fans get, fans are too impatient. Let things work out. It's not always going to be perfect. This is sports we're talking about. When it comes to sports, sometimes it will work out, sometimes it will not work out. Now, what winners do is they find more ways, or they basically find themselves in situations whereby more times than not, it works out. So fans are too impatient. Chill out, give it time. But I felt like there are a lot of impatient fans, and their major complaint was that we had become too stale. We had become too predictable. We were mainly focused on, possession, and we were not mixing it up. Of course, I do think it was a mistake for us not to be able to sign a striker last mid-season. We should have done that last mid-season to give us a push, but it's all good. I think we still did well to emerge that far and to come that far without a single recognizable striker, when other teams, you can clearly see, they do have consistent goal threats up front as a number 9, because that's come back in fashion as after it had gone out of fashion with the tiki-takas of Barcelona and playing with a false 9. It's come back in fashion where teams now have a recognizable, powerful, strong centre forward, the Erling Haaland type, the Kylian Mbappe type, someone who's the spearhead and the focal point of the attack. But being able to bring in Gyökeres was important, of course. But now what I see, the point I was making was, I nowadays see that, Mikel Arteta has a diversity of ways to attack a game. We can go direct now. We can now swing in crosses, as you can see the way Madueke was filling in for Bukayo Saka, and you can see how basically the dynamic with which we would attack with down the wings and try to put a cross in. We're actually going more direct nowadays. I look at the game against Athletic Bilbao, and Mikel Arteta brought on Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli. The direct attack from a goal kick, or rather from our own goal area, going into Trossard, and then the one touch pass to Gabriel Martinelli. Again, you saw it against Manchester City with Eberechi Eze going direct. So nowadays, and I think that's important in being able to sustain a title challenge, being able to sustain winning at the top level. Nowadays, for teams, you have to be a little bit harder to predict. You can't come with one, because I think coaches have become smarter. Teams have become smarter, not only in how they prepare for games, but in being able to diagnose other teams. So you cannot come with just one look. You have to come with different looks. You have to come with different profiles of players. You have to have people who can, play neat possession. At the same time, you have to have fast people who are more direct, a Gabriel Martinelli, and you have to have an Eberechi Eze in your side in order to be able to win. But I was so impressed with the win against Newcastle, and that shows that we are actually taking the steps. And you better watch out for Arsenal this season, because I do believe this is the season. I know the song of next season, always next season, but I strongly believe this is actually the season that Arsenal make it happen. Come on, you Gunners, let's go make it happen. Then for another thing I've been looking at when it comes to football is we have to discuss Manchester United. And at some point in time, Rueben Amorim will have to admit, will have to accept, will have to throw his hands up in the air and just acknowledge that, you know what, this formation of 3-4-3 is not working. The players are just not, buying into this philosophy, or I just don't have the right profile of players to make this happen. The 3-4-3 is a very, very tricky formation, especially at this point in time, because if you employ it, you have to really, really have the right set of players. I think when Conte was at Chelsea, he was also employing a similar kind of formation, and it can be either, it's the kind of formation whereby it can work very well, it has a high ceiling and a very low floor. It can be either extremely successful and you can run people out of the building, or it can be extremely disappointing, and that can cost you your job, because football is a results business, as we know, and for coaches it's a very short-lived job. You have to get results. And at some point, where do you stop? If you're Amorim, where do you stop and say, okay, at this point, if I keep on, I know I want to insist with this formation. I know I want to keep on working on the philosophy. And I know as a coach, probably you don't want to vacillate and change too much with your philosophy and your way of doing things, because you want people to buy into it, and you want, everyone to be streamlined, that this is how we approach games. This is what we do. This is what we stand for. If we are, when we lose possession, let's say, for example, we're going to chase after it. Within the first 3 seconds of losing possession, we are transitioning like this. So those philosophies, you don't want to change them too much. But at some point, you have to look and think nervously that if I continue with this, or if results don't change, my job, I'm in big trouble. I'm in big trouble as Rueben Amorim. So I'm wondering for him, where does the buck stop? Which will be the final straw that breaks the coming back? I watched the game against Brentford, and I think other managers are finding it a bit easy to pick holes in their formation. The three, and one thing I saw Gary Neville pointed out was, you can't keep on changing the centre backs. One, if you're going to have 3-4-3, I find that kind of formation, like I was discussing this on radio the other day, and it's like a diamond, and sometimes you want to be able to defend, or you want to be able to cover the width of the opposition's attack. That's why most teams go with 4 at the back, because when you divide the field into quarters, you're able to defend the full width adequately without leaving yourself short. Now with 3-4-3, in a transition situation whereby you've attacked and the opposition gets the ball and now they're springing a quick transition, you're in trouble. You look at the first goal that Brentford scored, and the guy was able to Brentford found them on the break. And Brentford is a very well organized team. Brentford is not the kind of team you're going to just confidently say, just going to go there and whoop them. No, they're a very, very solid, organized team. Keith Andrews is doing a wonderful... They're one of those clubs. Brighton, I don't know what they do, but they always seem to be able to handle their affairs appropriately. So that formation, you could see, number one, changing the centre-backs constantly. Today, Maguire is on. Tomorrow, Shaw is not on. The following day, Lenny Yoro is on. The next time, Delete is not there. You want to be able to keep the center, because that area of the field, just like Gary Neville put it on his podcast, by the way, that, you want to be able to build relationships and chemistry across your back line, because that aids your team. There's a reason why for Arsenal, it's working well when Saliba and Gabriel are there. Christian Mosquera is settling in well, by the way. But, you don't change too much. You get the formula that works and keep it, because that's not an area to experiment a lot. So that's the first mistake that is happening. Is it that he doesn't have the right set of players? Because of the 3-4-3, and especially if you push high up the field, you need athletic, super athletic people who that with all that space in behind, they can cover that ground confidently. They can be able to push up the field without worrying about the space in behind them. Because with the 3-4-3, you do leave holes behind, and it can be easy for opposing coaches, opposing teams, to be able to pick you off. So I think at some point, you just have to... And when I watched that game, by the way, when they shifted their formation, if you watched in the second half, there was a period where Manchester United shifted their formation to like a 4-3-3. So Lenny Yoro came on, and it was Lenny Yoro, Delete, Luke Shaw on the left, and Diogo Dalot on the right. And then on midfield, Patrick Dogu, and then Bruno Fernandes and Manuel Ugarte. And up front was, of course, Mbeumo, Sesko, and Mateus Cunha was more of a free role. And once they shifted it there, that's when they actually started to provide, or they started to present a lot of problems to Brentford, by the way. That's how they were able to get the penalty, which unfortunately Bruno Fernandes wasn't able to score. But yeah, I don't know why they don't just go with that formation. If that's working for now, and the set of players that you have, the profile they fit is more of a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, go with that one, because you're going to dig yourself in too deep a hole because you're too stubborn. Great managers also adapt. We saw Pep Guardiola actually play a 5-man defense against Arsenal. Never in our lives would you ever imagine Pep Guardiola would play a 5-man defense, but he actually shifted. You know why? Because he knew Arsenal at this point in time is a superior team to Manchester City. That's just facts. Arsenal has been on the rise up. The profile of players they have, what the activity they've done over the transfer window. They are the team that are to beat. They are one of the teams, them and Liverpool. So, I mean, do you continue living in denial and try to trade punches with Arsenal? Because that will not work out well for you. He shifted to a 5-man defense, and it actually did the whole game. The guy was playing defensive. And I'm telling you, that was actually working. It was actually working. It was so frustrating. And it showed that some great coaches adapt. You cannot be stubborn. Sometimes, you know, you're free to put in an action or to do something. The world will tell you the result of what you're doing. And the Premier League will tell you the result of whether this formation is going to work, it's been working or not. Up until now, it's not working. It might be time to change. Tell me what you feel about Manchester United's formation and Arsenal as well. Do you think that this is going to finally be the season that Arsenal wins something? And how long do you think Rueben Amorim can last with that formation? Is there a point whereby it's actually going to work for Rueben Amorim? It's Mtaa Football with Purple Mikey. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow me on YouTube as well on Mtaa. I'll paste the link so that you can catch me on there.